Let's stop talking about him like he's not here. Hi, Andy.
How is, lads? He's okay.
Yeah, we're just waffling on here.
Yeah.
So what is it with you guys? Can you not just vote no in May? You can't be trusted.
Yeah, to be fair, it's hard to round the lads up now, I have to say. I have been PFA rep a couple of times, just chasing the lads around, and you literally have to sit down and make them write that team down. It is proper graft.
I would have thought it would be something they would quite enjoy doing, no? These footballers are spoilt.
No, not really. You know, I used to just try and get as many Irish lads in.
Yeah.
Try and give them a little vote, you know.
You're in their ear. Seamus Coleman's had a great year, but don't let me influence you.
I was. Tell my team every year. Andy Reid would have been in there every year, not a bother at all. Shay Given, Robbie Keane, Damien Duff, Richard Dunn, Lee Carsley. If I wasn't in the same... Honestly, that was my team.
Darren is waiting for an answer to his question. United 99 team. We'll give you 99-2000, similar-ish team. Or the 08 Champions League team, which was Tevez and Ronaldo and Rooney.
But I think, it's the achievement, isn't it, in 99? That's the thing. Martin Keown said early on, he said he thinks that team was the best team ever because they would have always found a way to beat you, no matter how, it might not have been pretty at times, but they would have found a way to win a game. So, yeah, Ronaldo's probably the best player from both sides, I'd probably say. But in general, I think that team with Keane and with everyone in that side, I think that team from 99, yeah.
Okay. The reason we wanted to speak to you, Andy, and thanks so much for making time, is that a lot of people would have seen the pictures. I mean, it was quite novel to see all the different faces there. Some of us are starting to feel very old looking at all these lads becoming managers. So you were there, Keith Andrews, Robbie Keane, Damien Duff, I saw Neil Fenn there. Vinnie Perth, I think, is going to go in Dundalk. Jim McGuinness is kind of the unusual one as well. So you were all setting off on your UEFA Pro licence. So this is the top licence mandated by UEFA, and it's issued by each member state's football federation. And essentially you need this if you want to coach at the highest level. So presumably you've done your B licence and done your A licence. So are you all there for the week in Enfield, or is it all wrapped up, or where are you?
Yeah, no, we're still here. We've got we came in on Monday morning, and we've had kind of seminars, coursework, lots of learning, coaching practices, all different kind of stuff, and we finish now tomorrow evening. It's been very full on. You know, you don't get very much time to yourself. It's, you know, there's a lot of information to take on, so plenty of note taking, and you know, the guest speakers have been great. You know, we've been very, very lucky that we've had some brilliant guest speakers on. We've had some great people who've done coaching practices for us, and we've been able to interact with them as well. And that's where the learning comes from. And on these courses, this is where, you know, this is the real nitty gritty of it. It's where you get all your knowledge from. Right,
okay. Can you just take us through, because Kev, you've done all these. So we hear about these things and it's very interesting. The B licence is the first one. And you need the B licence if you're going to coach amateur clubs, youth teams up to the age of 16, or to be assistant coaches for professional clubs. That's why you need the B licence. So what kind of stuff's going on there? I presume more basic stuff, Kev.
Yeah, and again, Andy, it's trying to break down the football, I think, when you're in your B licence, to make it as simple as possible. You're basically coaching kids football, youth football, so you've got to obviously have an understanding of the game. You've got to have an understanding on... Basically, you try and break the game down to such a way that it was alien to me. That's the way that I found it doing my B licence. It was that simplistic. It was difficult, if you know what I mean. That's the way that I found it. The A licence, I really enjoyed doing the A licence. I thought it was a great course. I really enjoyed it for different reasons, yeah.
The B licence, as in, if you're trying to explain to someone how to pass a ball, it's actually so routine and unconscious for you, it's difficult to explain.
There'd be a bit of that, yeah. There'd be a bit of that within it, yeah.
How did you find the B licence, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I very similar to Kev. You know, I think the main things that I got from the B and the A to a certain extent, but not so much, was more the organisation of sessions. I mean, we're used to, you know, as players, we were used to just turning up and you know, the session's already set up and you just walk out on the pitch and start training. And when you're playing, especially early on in your career, you don't really think about it very much, because you just go out and you just train. But then you start getting towards the end and you think, actually, how is this session set up? How big is my area need to be if I'm doing a possession game, or if I'm doing a 66 or 77? How big can my pitch be? How can I get overloads in certain areas to try and get my coaching points across? And that was the big thing that I got from the B and the A, was more the organisational side of it. what we found on this pro license is it's more geared towards managerial processes. There's a lot of you have to manage backroom staff. You've got to prepare teams for games, and so it's more managerial based. The pro license with a lot of dealing with external factors, so to speak, i.e. the press and the chairman and stuff like that. So they're kind of the differences between the B and the A and the pro licence that I've found so far.
Yeah, just one thing I just want to go back on the B licence as well, I never mentioned there, Andy. It's finding your own voice on the training ground, that little bit of nervousness, that anxiety that you have when you actually have to go and speak and start to put in a coaching session. That was something that I found brilliant through the B licence, just how to present yourself and how to get my voice across to the lads who I was supposed to be coaching, yeah.
Interesting. And a question...
And
yes, sorry, Andy.
I think as well as that, it's just the coaching style. Everybody has to develop their own coaching style. Everybody has a different manner about them, like what you said, Kev. How loud do you speak? Are you a ranter and raver? Are you somebody who's nice and calm? And there's no right way or there's no wrong way. And I think everybody needs to try and find their own coaching style.
What's your style?
Well, listen, I like to be very hands-on, and I like to be kind of really in there, really kind of close to the action. I like to be very clear and precise about what I want from my players, and preparation is part of that. Preparation for setting up your session and making sure that everything is right, and that's very important. And then explaining what you want from the players, and also you've got to add a bit of fun into it as well if you can. I know there's a lot of serious things involved in it. Football, especially at the highest level, it's serious. You need to get results, it's very important. But you need to add a little bit of fun into it, especially if you're working with young players. And, I've been working with Ireland's under-18s, and you need to add a little bit of fun in it to kind of keep them on board a little bit, to kind of keep them ticking along. So you've got to try and add a little bit of humour into it, and try and help them feel as relaxed as possible and as comfortable as possible in the sessions that you're doing. But the main aim of that is then to take it into the game. There's no point in doing coaching sessions and then going out onto the football pitch for a match and nobody doing what you've been coaching all week. That's pointless. So that's the main aim of it.
And when you say hands-on and in the mix of it, like are you like Glenn Hoddle pushing David Beckham out of the way and showing someone how you hit a free kick Andy Reid style?
I don't know about that, but sometimes you do be itching to kind of get involved, and then you just realise actually these are 16 and 17-year-olds. I couldn't even catch any of them even if I tried. So, so you got to be careful with that. You want to be involved in it. You want to be part of the session. You want to kind of feel it a little bit, because that's what it is. You need to get a feeling for the session when you're in it. Where's the session going? Where is it taking me? How am I going to deliver it? How am I going to get my points across in a really clear and precise way, but in a manner that they want to listen to you, they want to learn.
A more basic question about all this. How long does the B licence take? How long does the A licence take? I think the pro licence that you've started on now is about the guts of a year. What about B and A?
For me, I think the B took it was close to a year, and the A was something similar, right. Maybe a little bit more for the A. I think because I was still playing at the time, so so you needed to kind of fit it in and around that, which kind of space around and made it be a little bit longer. And the pro license is going to be longer. It's probably going to be about 18 months to 2 years. Again, depending on when you can get your assignments done, there'll be a lot of people in some people in better positions than others to get their assignments done, to get their tasks done, to do club visits, to get assessed and all the other bits. So there's no kind of set date. It started on Monday, but there's no set date as to when it's going to be finished. It's just got to be finished. I think you've had to have everything in before May 2020, but I would imagine most of the lads would be hoping that it would be finished before then.
Right, and by the way, just a quick aside, Kev's coming in with a question. The joys of live radio here. We were trying to get through to you on the landline in your hotel room, but they're not answering at reception. But if your landline suddenly rings, pick that up and we'll get you on that one. It'll be a better line. But there was no other way to get that message to you besides saying it to you on air. Kev, you come in there.
No, I wanted to ask you, Andy, can you tell us which guest speakers you've had this week? You spoke about that you've already had a few guest speakers on through your course, and who you would have on across the course of your course over the next 18 months or so.
Yeah, listen, I think it's a very important thing, the speakers. And we had a great start on Monday morning. We had Mick McCarthy come in as a guest speaker on Monday morning. So we had a couple of housekeeping bits and pieces to get sorted, and then Mick came in and done a talk for us, and it was excellent. It was a really, really good insight into managing, into when things go right, when things go wrong, situations that Mick has found himself in, and without going into too much detail, because obviously it's quite personal stuff, and it's not stuff that that you would be going around talking about. Mick was very, very open with us. It was really, really good insight, and we were very, very lucky to have him there and to get his insight.
And Andy, without
where he's looking at going,
without divulging confidence, totally appreciate your point. I don't suppose May 2002 is anything he wants people talking about, for instance. But was there any, in broad terms, like a piece of advice or a way of going about things that you took from Mick's talk?
Yeah, well, there was actually loads of little kind of nuggets that you would kind of take, and one that, and speaking to the lads, I think some of the other lads kind of took it as well, was dealing with when you say problematic players who maybe aren't going to be in your team, or you're having to leave them out, and he was really, really good at giving us an insight into how he does that, how he tries to keep an arm around people, try and keep them involved, even though they might not be playing, and it's difficult to tell these players that they're not in the team, but you have to do it, and it's also difficult to kind of keep them switched on and make them understand you're still going to be involved. You might need to come on and do a job for us. So I think mixed man management, and Kev will know as well as anybody, and mixed man management has always been very, very good. So so for him to give us an insight into that was a real eye opener for us, and as I said, great little nuggets that we were able to take from that for us as young coaches trying to get on in the game.
Is this a course you can fail as a matter of interest?
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, as I said, there's tasks that need doing, there's assignments that need doing, there's club visits, there's assessments, there's all these different things, and we've just had a meeting there about all the requirements that we're going to need to get the pro license and to achieve it and to pass it, and it's a big body of work. There's a hell of a lot of stuff goes into it, and if it's not all produced, and they made that clear to us in no uncertain terms. If it's not all there, there's a tick box. This has to be handed in. This has to be handed in, and so it has to be handed in to our tutors, and it has to be checked, and it has to be signed off by Niall O'Regan and Reid, and then it has to be sent over to UEFA, and it has to be ticked off by them. So there's no shortcuts through this. This is all kind of checked and double checked, and so the work has to be done. The work has to be there.
And what about your club visits then, Andy? Have you got anything lined up? Is there anything that you would like to? Would you like to go abroad? Some lads do like to do various different things. I suppose they can go to different clubs along the way. Is there anything that you would specifically like to do? Have you got a couple of clubs that you would like to see along the way?
Yeah, I do. And I've been wanting to go for a while, and I'm going to get it done in the next kind of 2 or 3 months. Is Athletic Bilbao. I find what they do are absolutely amazing, and I've been wanting to go for a while. I mean, you're talking about a club here that are, they're in the top division in Spain, and they do well, and, they've been up there. But all the kids that they come through and all the players that play for them are all from the Basque region. And I find that amazing. It's almost like Manchester United just using players from the greater Manchester region. So they must be doing something right to be able to produce these players to go into their first team and to be able to compete in that top league. There must be some sort of structure. There must be something that they're doing over there, and I want to go and see what that is. And it's a really, really interesting one for me. And I will be doing that club visit as part of my course, and I'll be doing reports on it.
Oh, that's good. So you've got it nailed down already. You've already put the or spoke to people and get it in place for yourself, then, yeah.
Yeah. So I just need to sort out the time and the place and when suits them and when suits me. But that's definitely something that's going to happen in the next few months for me. As I said, I find it very, very interesting what they're doing over there. There has to be something special going on there. It's a really amazing achievement from a club. to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's a great point, because I would have thought the most popular destination would be wherever Pep Guardiola is. Everybody would want to see that, but that Bilbao choice makes perfect sense. Maybe a question for both of you then. So say the game tactically is just moving all the time and moving very quickly, and I dare say, we were talking about you and Man United back in '99. I guarantee you both sides were playing a 4-4-2. Yeah. And so that aspect of the game is changing so much. Where do you learn about tactics? Where do you learn how to respond to a 4-3-3, or if the opposition plays a 3-5-2, what the best way to counteract that might be? Where does that learning take place? Or is there just an assumption with these badges, Andy, that you lads will know that already?
Listen, the thing about football and about tactics is it's very, very subjective. It's everybody has their own ideas on that. And I think that's what makes you a good coach and a good manager, or not, as the case may be. You have to have this football knowledge that's in there. Nobody can say to you, if you come up against a 4-4-3, if you play...
you do well playing against a 4-4-3, Andy.
4-4-3 is the ultimate formation.
That's the one I'd want to play.
Yeah, 4-3-3, yeah. No, but if you do that, you come up against a 4-4-2, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Nobody can say this is how you can counteract that. This is, there's ways that you think, well, we might be able to exploit them down the sides if they play three in the back, or if they play only two in midfield. If we play three in midfield, we might be able to pass the ball around them. But there's no set thing, there's no rule book to it, and football would be very, very boring if there was,
Yeah.
So there's always new things coming out, there's always innovations, and there's always new coaches that people want to learn from, and people want to say, well, they're doing well, they're doing something new. How can I kind of tap into that? And football is constantly evolving, and it goes round and roundabouts, and then comes back around, and somebody else will come up with something new, and that will be the craze for a little bit. And people are coming up with their own systems and coming up with their own styles of play. And I think that's the great thing about football. That's the great thing about coaching, is that there's such a broad spectrum there, and you've got a blank sheet, and you can go and express yourself as a coach, and hopefully, get across to the team what we're looking for. And then the aim for that, as we spoke about earlier on, when you go into a game situation, and we reproduce what we're looking to do on the training pitch.
You're asking the question there. Andy's made several good points within that as well. It's not necessarily in your coaching badges that you're saying, right, okay, you're playing against you'll be asked a question, you're playing against a 3-5-2 or whatever system you're coming up against. What would you do? It's like me and you, Joe, me and Andy, whoever it would be. We're actually coming up with the solutions, or trying to come up with the solutions on what would we do in that position. There's no rule book, as you said. There's no right or wrong.
And so, could someone there listen to your answers to those questions and come to the conclusion after a couple of times talking to you that actually, Kev, you don't have a notion?
Totally. Well, they wouldn't necessarily agree with you, but that's your beliefs and how you think it should be played.
But if you follow Andy's point through to its logical conclusion, so Andy, not to misquote you, you sort of said there, well, it's very hard to teach someone that. That's there's no rule book, there's no quick manual you can check. 4-4-2 equals I play X, Y, or Z. If that's one of the most important things about being a manager, then you could argue that as good as these badges might be, you can't actually teach someone one of the key aspects of being a manager then.
Yeah, well, I think the coaching badges now in general, when you're going through, you start to realise that a lot of it, particularly what I'm sure Andy will realise across this course as well, is there is so much more than just what happens on the training ground.
I appreciate that, but
that is the main thing. Ultimately, we'll always say results are going to dictate what a manager is going through, but to be fair, it isn't that. That's what management, modern day management, particularly at the top level, it isn't about that.
Yeah, so it's about budgets and it's about money.
There's so much more to it, yeah.
But it is interesting that, one of the key things, so how, Manchester City set up their team, how do you play against them? There could be someone in the pro licence who just go out and hope for the best. It's very hard to teach them.
But there's a lot of managers that would have done that would have worked for them. That wouldn't necessarily work on the training ground. I mean, again, it's more so for Andy. I think he's sitting it now, but there'd be a lot of managers that would sit not so much on, but they would sit the coaches, tick the boxes, as Andy said, but they will go about things a whole lot differently when they get back to the club, and that's just how it is. It's very, very, very subjective, and that's the way that it'll always be, I feel, the game.
There's no way to coach it, Andy, you feel? There's no way to give people tactical coaching on a deep level, is there?
No, I think experience is probably the best tool.
Right.
It's not an exact science, but being there and seeing it, and if you're clever enough, if you come up against somebody and they really overload you in a certain area, you might kind of go away and do your analysis and come back and say, well, they've overloaded me there. How can I learn from this, and how can I put it right next time? So in a way, that's a learning tool. But as I said, there's no exact science to it.
Yeah.
And because it's constantly evolving, football is constantly evolving. It's constantly changing, and everybody's trying to get the edge over everybody else. So you kind of counteract one thing, and then they'll try and do something else, and you put something out, and you'll catch somebody out, and then they'll learn from that as well. And you have to constantly change and constantly move on with the times and be innovative. I think is a very, very important thing to be as a coach.
Mm. What are your own coaching ambitions then?
Well, eventually I want to be a manager. I'm on my coaching journey at the moment, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm learning all the time, speaking to people all the time. I'm like a sponge at the moment, where I'm just trying to absorb everything. I'm speaking to everybody. I'm taking things on board, and I'm saying, yeah, I really like that. No, that's not so much for me. So I'm kind of filtering things, but eventually I want to be a manager. I feel like I've got the tools for that. And this is kind of part of the journey, and I think it's very important not to kind of get too far ahead of yourself, or I wouldn't be probably interested in going for a first-team manager's job at the moment, because I don't feel that I'm kind of ready to do that, so I think it's important that you take it in steps, that you continuously learn, and if you're good enough and if you want it enough, then I believe it'll come to you.
Did you get talking to Jim McGuinness at all?
Yeah, I've spoke to him. Yeah. Jim's been good. I think he's really enjoyed the week. He's really enjoyed being around. One thing that I will say, obviously Jim's on the course. One thing that we're actually very, very lucky. You named some of the lads that are on the coach that are on this course earlier on, and it's brilliant to have such a wealth of experience on this course. I mean, we had to do a presentation earlier on a coaching practice that we watched yesterday, and what we decided to do with the presentation was be interactive with the lads. So we have to present it to all the lads on the course. Now, I'm looking at when I'm doing this presentation, I'm saying, we've got such a vast knowledge and such vast experience here in this room. Let's tap into it. So I was throwing questions out to the lads. What did you feel about this part of the session? What did you feel about this? And the answers, the quality of answers that you're getting back, and the quality of debate that we ended up having was second to none, and you don't just get that, everywhere you go. So we're all very lucky, I think, with the quality of people that are on this course. That's
what strikes me about this pro licence, by the sounds of things. It sounds like there's not an exact curriculum that's taught, so you could have Mick McCarthy here, and that could be great, and you mightn't get such a good speaker somewhere else necessarily, or equally your classmates mightn't be as experienced or have done as much in the game. So you can probably be a bit unlucky or lucky, Kev. I don't know who spoke to you or what kind of people you had.
I had Mike Phelan spoke on our course. I'm trying to think of it. We went to Geneva actually through our course as well. Paki Bonner spoke on our course as well. We had many different people, psychologists, nutritionists, S&C coaches. We had so many different people along different sort of lines that we would have spoke to, and that's what I think Andy will be tapping into across the course of his course as well. Yeah.
So has Robbie Keane tried to copy your homework yet, or is that happening? Or?
No, not quite. We keep it well hidden. No copying going on here. No, but the thing is that you mentioned that. I know we laugh and we joke about that, but there'll be no point in looking at what anybody else is doing and taking down what they're doing, because it's about you as a coach and how you develop, and everybody's going to be different. Somebody might have a theory on this and they might want to play this way, and that's great. That's very good for them. But it's not for me, and it doesn't mean that they're wrong or that I'm right. It's just that the fact that everybody is an individual, and there's no right and wrong on it. It's your voice, it's your kind of thoughts, it's your processes, and that's up to you. And I think that's a very important thing, and to understand if you come on a course like this, there's no right and there's no wrong. There's just you doing what you believe is right, and that the tutors are there to kind of guide you along in that.
We've got to wrap up. We've gone way over time, but it was really interesting to talk to you about all this. A very, very quick one. We're all keeping a closer eye on Nottingham Forest now than we might usually do, obviously, with Martin O'Neill gone in there and maybe Roy Keane to follow. Do you keep a close eye on how the club are doing? And if so, what kind of players does he have to work with? What can we expect him to achieve as a good end to a season, Andy?
Well, listen, they've got a decent squad. Right. I think, Oyster Cranker was it was a very sticky situation, and he's probably unlucky not to still be in a job, whatever way things turned out. I think he'd done a decent job. He was putting together a good squad. They brought in 14 players in the summer. Some really, really good players as well. We've got players like Lewis Graben and Jack Polback, and they signed Michael Dawson, although he's had a couple of injuries. So, there's some strong players. They signed a lad called Carvalho from Benfica for 14 million. Technically, he's a really good player. Plays in the number 10 position. So there's some strong players there. It's a good, decent squad, and with just maybe a little bit of tweaking, I don't see any reason why they can't go on a decent run. But the Championship is a tough league, as anybody who will have played in it can testify to that. It's not going to be easy, but still only 5 points off the playoffs or something like that. So it's definitely within reach.
Okay, listen, great to have you with us. Thanks a million. Appreciate it.
Andy. Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks a lot, lads.